Congratulations! You are at the right place at the right time to start your day with a lightning bolt of energy. Most news programming, morning talk shows, or other podcasts are not launching you into your day or accessing even a fraction of your greatness and potential. If you want more money in less time with more magic, and if you want to find what works to scale your sales and business with the actionable formula of formulas, then the Unblinded Huddle is the #1 way to start your day with an infusion of integrity-based human influence. With your host, Sean Callaghy and the Unblinded team, and the entire Unblinded movement.
Hey, what's up, Unblinded? What's going on? Fernando here, tuning in for another morning huddle, which is the #1 place to start your day with a daily dose of integrity-based human influence. And today's Fun Friday, and I woke up in a fun, playful mood. We've had beautiful conversations since early in the AM, and more importantly, I'm present to like the fun and excitement that's happening and all of your 10 by 10s. People are being drafted. People are like competing to be drafted. They're like, well, I thought of them first. There's this beautiful aura of competition, which to compete means to conspire. It's such a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful energy that's been created. Sean, I'm sure we've all heard his stories of sports and Columbia, baseball leagues and little leagues and all these different dynamics. Coach Ennis, Coach Lazak, and just the fun dynamic that competition brings. And I'm present to the power of it. I'm present to the fact that we're conspiring together, to do something awesome, to change the world. And I know those are big words, and it's happening. And I can't wait for Sean to share some of the things that are happening in the world of Callaghy Law, his genius and this formula. And Unblinded is absolutely incredible. It's transcending media, politics, the nation. Absolutely incredible. And I don't want to steal his thunder, so I will leave that for him. But for all of us, it's like, what are we going to do to have some fun today? And, fun can be productive net time. Sean is like the most productive when he's in his fun energy, when he's in like his beanie, his hoodie, he's like laying on the ground with no shoes on. He's like in his comfort, Slim Shady mode. And he's like, he creates. So like, what is that for you? What does your Fun Friday look like? How can we add some of that energy, into our flow? And I'm looking forward to really creating that together at our 10 by 10 conversation today at 1:30 EST. It's going to be a beautiful module. We're going to truly re-encapsulate what we've done, where we are, and more importantly, it'll be like a singular video that can truly explain to you what we need to do to step into our greatness on our 10 by 10. So as Mr. Callaghy joins us, as I see on the screen, I just want to see if Nick Knutson is here with us. Nick, if you are live and here with us, if you can just raise your hand so we can tag you in, brother, that would be totally awesome. So Nick, I see you're here. If we can tag you in for a brief second. Sean, hello. We're introducing.
Good morning, everybody.
Beautiful. Would you like to say anything before we introduce Nick?
Yeah, let's bring Nick on. Happy Fun Friday. We have some fun things to talk about, including Nick and what's happening.
Awesome. So Nick, super grateful to have you here, brother. I know you've been chatting with Adam. You've been in our mastery program for 5 to 6 months now. We had the pleasure of speaking yesterday, and you were the first human being to join our new coaching program. And I'm super excited and honored and blessed for your story, our friendship. And I'd love for you to share like what's present for you. How have your conversations with Adam been, and like how did you feel after yesterday's call? So Nick, welcome to the huddle, brother.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you so much, Fernando, Sean. Good morning. Happy Friday, beautiful Unblinded community. Really grateful to be here this morning. So it's kind of I'm both very excited and also have a very heavy, sad heart for the city I live in right now. We are burning, literally and figuratively, because of this whole incident that has happened with this innocent black man being killed, unfortunately. So it is very present for me, but I'm also understanding and trying to recognize how I should respond rather than react. And so, what's also really present for me is that there are some things I cannot change, but there is a lot of courage of things that I can. And stepping into this Unblinded coaching program with all these beautiful conversations I've had with Adam, And Fernando, I really feel like I really feel that there's a lot of trust there. So that is also very present for me. So that's what I got this morning, gentlemen. Thank you.
Well, Nick, thank you. And brother, heart goes out, the heaviness of what's occurring, and what's the feeling, just sort of for the people you know and around you. And we could be real and raw here, like we're not judging, we're not assessing, like just checking in with what is, like what's occurring in people's emotional construct, at least that you know and around you.
There's so much anger and frustration, and I mean, there's looting and riots, and there's people just don't know like what to do. I don't know what to do, and now there's I get it. Like what it seems like is that people are valuing property over people, and like that has just got to stop. And I don't know what's going to be the wake-up call. I thought coronavirus was going to be, but it's not.
So yeah, if I could drop in on a couple of thoughts, and I'd love to see you weigh in. Like when I think of challenges, I think it's critically important to like whiteboard out what is, because if you think about it, it's easy to get into an isolated incident by incident analysis. And so, it's like, oh, I did this, and no, you did that, and you did this, and I did that. Like, so here's some integrity-based factual realities, right? Number one, no, and just everybody hear me through, right? Because this is like whiteboarding, right? Number one, there is no singular incident that represents the state of everything, right? So no act by a person of any ethnicity, religion, part of a group, equals whether it's a police officer that's African American, a police officer that is Jewish or Christian, a firefighter, a teacher, a leader of an organization, right, of any sort. The act of an individual or several individuals does not, to me, represent the state of things. Like that's just one, right? And we have, because the media, we have a distortion of like, this equals like what is, right? Shark attacks, and everybody hear me through, because I have a lot to say in case you think you know where I'm going. I don't think you do, right? So shark attacks are a beautiful example of a wild distortion. Like deer are more dangerous to drivers than sharks are to surfers, okay? So like deer are more dangerous to drivers by far than sharks are to surfers, like exponentially and insanely. Bees are more dangerous to humans than sharks are to surfers, right? We hear of a shark attack, it is provocative, it is dramatic, it is insane. And so there's something called a focal illusion. A focal illusion. And what a focal illusion is it means that the story isn't untrue, but our focus upon it can prioritize it differently, like focal distortion. So if I were to talk to you each and every day today, like going forward, about the critical importance of native plants versus invasive plant species on your property every day, it might create a practical, it would, I believe, create a practical focal distortion of what's most important in your life. It would just make it more primary, right? So one, there is a thing called focal distortion, like focal illusion, right? of whatever we focus on and hear about. And an example of it would be shark attacks, because sharks are not remotely dangerous in our lives comparative to so many other practical dangers that's present. Second, that's a fact, right? Second, factually. So the first fact is that focal distortions exemplified by shark attack exist. It's just how we function. What we hear about is what we prioritize, okay? Second, unequivocally, racial bias is an extraordinary challenge that exists in American society, okay, period. This is exemplified by both the baby doll experiment and the experiments that exist at Harvard and other places that have been so incredibly well done, that have distilled out, like called out, everything to do with any type of bias in the testing. And what these studies have shown is and Joseph McClendon and I had an hour-long conversation about these very facts yesterday, okay? Him bringing up the baby doll experiment, and me bringing up the Harvard experiment, which unequivocally demonstrate that racial bias is so deeply embedded into the American human consciousness. And here's what's really potentially but a unique fact on that, including in the nervous systems of African Americans. So what Joseph shared, and I think recently talked about in a couple of different places, in the baby doll experiment, which you can look up yourself, is experiment with young children and the selection of a white and African American baby doll. And when they were asked questions of like, which is the good one and which is the not good one, I forget the exact language, even the African American children selected the not good one as the African American baby doll. And then when asked to associate themselves to either the white or the African American baby doll, the white children, Caucasian children, selected the Caucasian doll, and the African American children, the African American doll. And so, as Joseph laid it out, and the experiment demonstrates, that means there is a cross association from the age as early as 3 years old societally, creating extraordinary amounts of friction inside of incredible human beings about the very color of their skin, okay? This permeates our society and culture. The Harvard experiment represents how difficult it is for both African American and Caucasian people to associate more positive words to pictures of people of color than it is to people of pictures not of color. So these are facts. Like, these are scientifically demonstrated facts. Now, what is not scientifically demonstrated is what to do about these problems. First. Second, how much in any individualized situation, race plays a role. It clearly plays an extraordinary role, factually. So it does, and in every situation, that percentage is present, but it is different. Sometimes it could be 100%. Sometimes it could be 10%. The culling out, the distillation of what that percentage is highly complex, number one, right? But important, and it's important. Second, what do we do about all this? That is the penultimate question, right? Because the divide along racial lines, religious lines, ethnic lines that exists is very real. And if you look at the work of Malcolm Gladwell, in, again, talking to strangers, whenever we perceive people as other, there is a completely different analysis of behavior. So for example, if somebody is Caucasian and sees somebody African-American walking down the street and identifies them as other, they're going to interpret how they're walking, how they're speaking, how they're taking up space completely differently than if it was somebody they did not perceive as other. So these are incredibly real challenges. And for me, my heart is heavy because I think at times, as Kay and Shai so beautifully noted yesterday on a 10 by 10 call, because they recently had Joseph on in a show that they did, what is really, really challenging is the what you do about it. Because we all say we want solutions, and I believe 99% of people do. The question is, if we're so deeply rooted in our consciousness and nervous system of people on all sides, right? There shouldn't be sides. People, I shouldn't even say sides, strike that. People of different, that fit into different demographics. Like, how do we unwind that? And I think the danger lies for all of us in the space of like, that there's some force, here's the key distinction, that there's some force out there that is this unseen other. Like there's an unseen other that is perpetuating this problem, right? And they're definitely present. Like there is a Ku Klux Klan. There is definitely meaningful racial bias that exists inside of law enforcement that's been demonstrated. Like, and believe me, like I have like close family members in law enforcement, they're beautiful people, right? But there is unique levels of bias that go beyond the levels of these societal studies that exist. So these are all like realities. That doesn't mean that all police officers are anything but amazing people, but it means that there are systemic challenges that exist in these different systems. The challenge is when we respond in ways that are unproductive out of understandable rage and frustration and upset and pain, the ultimate question is that lightning bolt of disruption, right? Is it in integrity? Is it designed to create the effective and correct outcome? What are the collateral consequences of the lightning bolt? While we have empathy for those that are completely, legitimately, overwhelmingly frustrated by a challenge that is still present and wildly complex to fix. So, why do I share all this? Because hopefully, this is what integrity-based thinking looks like. It doesn't look like a soundbite. Oh, there you go. Another act of ... See, they're doing it again. Who's the they? And are we sure that this thing represents the thing? And are we sure that the response is even going to fix the thing? Or is the response necessary to bring attention, but attention to whom? To do what? And when we can have discourse exchange at that level, now in my mind, we are sitting in the space of unblinded and integrity-based human influence. We're having honest intellectual conversation that isn't at an overly simplified level. I'll pause. Any thoughts in the chat? Please share, right? Fernando, Nick, so my heart is with you, your community, our community, collectively, and I hope and pray everybody stays safe and that we figure out ways to remedy the situation immediately, and then with the hope that it systemically brings solution, but also that we don't have misguided actions bringing about harm to innocent people. And by the way, thank you for your trust, and let's rock and roll, brother, as we go forward.
Amen. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So Fernando, any quick thoughts on that? I'm going to tie it into a couple of additional things.
No, just some things from the chat. People are grateful for the conversation. Steve G is saying, as a former police officer, I can assure you there is an us versus them mentality in the ranks. Alice says, Sean, the best characterization of our U.S. racial attitudes I've ever heard. I hope you'll make this available to us and perhaps the world. A lot of people saying, thank you, hugs, appreciate the call, love the morning huddle. Back to you, Mr. Kelly.
Yeah. So the way that the way that we can be in integrity and the way that we can be unblinding the world is to raise the level of the conversation. Thank you for your kind words, but I don't have the solutions. But I know the first step towards innovation, towards the solution, is aligning the integrity of the conversation. It's aligning the integrity of the conversation. So once we do that, and when I, as an attorney, as an influencer, and I have done this imperfectly in my life, but I can say with all my heart, I make mistakes and I will never stop making mistakes. But when I catch my breath, I try to align the conversation always in intellectual honesty. And I don't think that is unfortunately what happens in our political system. We have such bias, whichever side we're on the line, often, maybe not you, but many, right? And certainly in Congress, that we're not having a healthy conversation about the issue, because instead we're weaponizing the issue. We're weaponizing the issue to make the other side look bad. Now, when people are doing something wrong, it doesn't mean we shouldn't say it, right? It simply means it is not appropriate to create a false prism or a false context by weaponizing an act, right? That creates a distortion, because that is as out of integrity as the very wrongful act itself, right? So for example, if somebody wants to pass legislation to do something that is legitimately positive and is then weaponized with a false motive, right? That is not necessarily justified or truthful, that is as wrongful to me as somebody doing something completely wrong to begin with. So our intellectual honesty in these conversations is what Unblinded is about. And I'll give you a beautiful example of the impact. And it's Fun Friday. So let me lighten this up for like 1 second and then drop back in. So I wore intentionally my Deep Blue Divers sweatshirt today. Makes me happy. And it makes me think of the Cayman Islands. Like, what's a place on this Fun Friday in the middle of Corona and horrific sadness happening in certain communities? Like, what's happy for you? Like, where is someplace, even if you can close your eyes if you're not driving, right? Like, where's a place that you love, that you feel safe, that you feel at home, that it just like warms you nostalgically, that you remember beautiful things? And if your mind is fighting right now, go, it's here, but like, let's leave the but out. Like, where's a place and a space that brings joy to your heart, tears to your eyes, where you feel so deeply and lovingly connected, where you feel happy and fun and magical? And a space for me is thinking about Grand Cayman and Deep Blue Divers and hopping off the boat in a backward roll, being in dead flat, calm water on the west side of Grand Cayman off a 7 Mile beach, and bobbing up and down in the water with Tyler, my son, my daughters, Courtney and Emma, and feeling this dead calm still of an ocean that like never happens. There was like days like that. I remember one morning, like we're there and the water was more still than a pool with a minor rippling wind in a backyard. And I remember saying to my kids, like, don't move. And we didn't move for a couple of minutes, and the ocean was as still as any water I've ever seen. And we were like in our own private charter boat, and an unbelievably like great price. We paid $650 for a day to have our own boat, dive equipment, dive masters, like unbelievable. So this, I want to make sure we're not receiving this as like something super expensive and unattainable. $650 for your own boat. And then we dropped down onto the kiddie wake with 10,000 plus fish everywhere around this beautiful, intentionally sunk shipwreck. We start exploring. And there's barracuda, and there's jacks, and there's blue tang, and there's clownfish, just like Nemo. And it's this magical time, and I'm holding my daughter's hand, and we're going through all of it. It's coming up. I remember truly on the boat telling my children after this beautiful moment as we sat in a surface interval with our friends Allison and Neil, the dive masters, talking about what made that available being the formula. And like that conversation was occurs in that moment. And so in this fun Friday, like, what is that for you? Because what created that was the formula. Your process, influence, and self-mastery. And all of that is present for us as we rise in our level of mastery. And that is present for me in this fun Friday. What is also present, two final things, is integrity-based human influence at work. Like him or not, Donald Trump passed an executive order or issued an executive order. And the executive order last night talked about integrity breaches that are occurring in the space of social media giants. And social media giants are hiding behind something called the Decency Act, the CDA. And they're hiding behind the CDA to control content for their economic benefit and for their whatever whims they have, whether they be political, religious, or otherwise. And one argument is that they should be able to do whatever they want because it's their company, it's their platform. But on the other side of that question is like the airwaves, right? There's an FCC, there's national news networks, and there's mechanisms and controls to say that once you reach a certain level, that you have so much influence and power as a monopoly that it's important to have some degree of regulation over what you do. So if it's Facebook or Twitter or YouTube and they decide we are not going to allow anybody ever again to discuss an issue of racial prejudice and we will delete all of that, they actually could under the Decency Act or the theory that it's their platform, they should be able to do whatever they want. What President Trump issued last night was an order that affected the manipulation of the Decency Act, which was designed to prevent child pornography of being permeated, right? Something that is inherently and fundamentally criminal, illegal, and horrific. And now these platforms are using it to say, oh, you talk about this, we don't think it's decent, and therefore you can't talk about it. Vaccination conversation has been impacted by social media platforms under the Decency Act. So what this order is doing is preventing companies using this as a shield so that the First Amendment rights are not eliminated because they have become so powerful. Facebook is valued, I believe, at more than $1 trillion. Could be 650 billion, but I thought it might be over $1 trillion, but somewhere in that vicinity. Their reach, they're a standardized part of our existence. And unknowingly for us, there's controls over what we can see and not see, over what focal illusions and distortions are present. And what I am particularly proud of for Unblinded, for Callagee Law, and the honor I have to be a part of it is I was on Fox News with my client, Jason Fick, or our client, Jason Fick, about a year ago, where these issues are being discussed because we have a case against Facebook on behalf of my client. And I had the privilege of speaking at an event about these issues along with my client, maybe 7 months or so ago. And Donald Trump Jr. was there speaking. And the Attorney General's office has been looped in on what's occurring. And this case is on appeal in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And the very arguments that the president was articulating last night were completely inconsistent with the arguments that we were making. When I was on Fox News, the president tweeted about social media giants, clearly evidencing that he was watching that appearance. We are very clear that these issues are being evaluated at the highest governmental levels for their importance and impact on affecting elections, on affecting commerce, and affecting the lives of all of us. So I wake up today grateful that integrity-based human influence is impacting and shaping how our government is dealing with truth and integrity. And whatever you think of Donald Trump, his integrity or not, this issue is an issue that is rooted completely in integrity. Now, perhaps it benefits him because what might be screened out are things that are more left-leaning, and that may not be something that you'd want to happen for your political outcome. But the issue itself, the ability of social media giants to hide falsely behind the Decency Act, which is there to prevent things like child pornography, to quell free speech, to me, is an incredibly important issue of integrity. And we talk about, and people ask me, why are you doing all this? And I say things like integrity in our political process, ultimately. I say things like integrity in our media and messaging, intellectual honesty in our discourse. It literally is happening right now with this executive order. And I have massive gratitude. But do not be confused. We are a part of that and shaping that conversation, if not leading it, from the depth and the uniqueness of how we approach these arguments in the Fick versus Facebook case. And that's what you're a part of. That is where we're going. And that's what we're doing to be influencers, influencing influencers, to make the world a greater place. And I'm very confident that this is not hyperbolic when I say it. We influence the government in this conversation in a meaningful and integrous way to what Donald Trump and the Attorney General Barr were saying last night to our nation. And that is not a hyperbolic statement. And that is what it looks like on this Fun Friday. For the accelerator, I'll pause there. Fernando, any thoughts, reactions?
Hey man, to not sound super polished and as a true millennial, you're a cool dude and you're doing some really cool things. This is awesome. I've heard you speak of this. I know you deep down inside, you have a huge vision that not a lot of people see, that all of us are here right now committed, to understanding, implementing for our own money, time, and magic, and for the greater good of humanity. And it's super awesome that this is happening. I have no doubt in your influence ability. And it's incredible that we all get to be a part of something this large, greater than ourselves. Right. I love Unblinded.
Oh, thank you. And I will share this, guys. Rooted completely in integrity, I am deeply troubled by the way that Donald Trump, our president, communicates. Deeply, deeply troubled. His language is divisive. It is unnecessarily aggressive. And I hope to someday have the opportunity and privilege to communicate directly with him to reshape his communication consistent with the formula. Okay? I also believe that as we look at all of these different dynamics and issues, it is terribly important to have intellectually honest conversation that go beyond who we like and don't like about any topic. And if you're like, uh-oh, is this leading towards the build to the election? Is this your pre-framing us to influence us on who to vote for? And my answer is no, no, but it is influencing the integrity of how we analyze the issues. That's all, right? So, and I will say politically, I have voted for Democrats and for Republicans for president. Across the board. So my alignment is towards integrity, something we have for fun called the Purple Party, which will be the party of integrity-based influence, impacting the world to be a greater place. And if that's you thinking I'm also seeding eventually political run, I will never run for political office. I believe that there is so much more impact that can happen outside of the system, and that is the space I am playing in, and that is part of why we are here at Unblinded. And not just a small part, it is the driving core component of it. And the only way we win and grow is if you win and grow. And the way we win and grow today is the Unblinded Business Accelerator, so you can make more money in less time with more magic. Because people who are in lack and scarcity have to be focused on their own selfish, not selfish in a bad way, their own self-focused, desperate needs. And we're bringing people beyond that. So we have the room and the space and the time with our oxygen masks on and us feeling some appropriate level of certainty and security with where we are, that we could spend time contributing not only to beautiful causes like the American Foundation for the Blind and Operation Underground Railroad, but also, so we have time to be raising the level of integrity in our political system, in our communications about media, and in how we go forward in the space of sales and marketing leadership. And that's what's present for today. And the accelerator is the accelerator today, where we're gonna catch up, we're gonna ground ourselves in like, what is this? Why is this? What's happening? And stay honor the syllabus comment for today, which is the difference between transactional and ecosystem merging. All that will occur today. And this will be the module that you'll be able to send out to people and go, okay, like this is it. We're gonna keep doing that. We're leading up to the outcome of a 10-minute animated video, a la Jurassic Park, if you've ever seen it, that explains the entire creation of Jurassic Park, the DNA of dinosaurs, like how we represent this to people, they get it with animated visual depictions to understand everything in its simplicity and beauty. So, final, Fernando?
Final. We'll see all you fine folk today at 1:30 EST for the 10 by 10. And we'll see you at 3 o'clock for all of you that are going to be there with us on The Real Raw. Sean, back to you for final.
And want to acknowledge Kirk Adams with a beautiful donation to Operation Underground Railroad as an amazing gesture of love and contribution in honor and service of Mona's birthday. That was a beautiful and incredible act, Kirk and all the others that donated. This is what it looks like. Like, what does it look like when the AFB and Operation Underground Railroad are in the same places in conversation, making incredible things happen because people donate to things primary and secondary and vice versa. And what does it look like for the causes that you love and believe in as well? Have a beautiful day. See you in a little bit.
Now it's time to break through and crush fear and distortion. What is the one zone action step that will help you most today to make more money in less time and with more magic, and contribute value to the Unblinded ecosystem? After you crush it, then head over to our private Facebook community at www.unblindedmovement.com to share your big win for the day. If you feel great about the Unblinded Huddle, please share your win for today and any questions you may have for us, along with a 5-star review so we can reach more like-minded people like you. And if you have not already subscribed, please visit www.unblindedhuddle.com to be part of our live ecosystem audience for each morning huddle so that we can help you see what you don't see about the fun, excitement, and magic of exponentially growing your sales.